It's Christmas time. There's no need to be afraid. At Christmas time, we let in light and we banish shade. And in our world of plenty, we can spread a smile of joy. Throw your arms around the world at Christmas time. But say a prayer, pray for the other ones. At Christmas time, it's hard, but when you're having fun, there's no world outside your window, and it's a world of dread and fear, where the only water flowing is the bitter sting of tears, and the Christmas bells that ring are the clanging chimes of doom. Well, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. And there won't be snow in Africa this Christmas time. The greatest gift they'll get this year is life. Oh, where nothing ever grows, no rain or rivers flow. Do they know it's Christmas time at all? Here's to you, raise a glass for everyone. Here's to them underneath that burning sun. Do they know it's Christmas time at all?
Well, it's hello, Fergal, and very dear friends from the Glens. It's been a long time since we have seen each other, but I'm delighted to take this opportunity to get in touch and say congratulations and thank you for the great work you're doing with the Glens Aid program and so on. And it's great, important work. I remember very fondly, of course, great nights up in Cushendall, up in the book club and folk music sessions, and all sorts of hours of the evening. But these are strange times. We can't even get our hair cut these days with barbers or hairdressers. You can't find them open too much. But well, the hair grows on you after a while anyway, as you would know yourselves. But great to be in touch, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. All the best.
My father played the melodeon outside at our gate. There were stars in the morning east, and they danced to his music. Across the wild bogs his melodeon called to Lennons and Callans. As I pulled on my trousers in a hurry, I knew some strange thing had happened. Outside in the cowhouse, my mother made the music of milking. The light of her stable lamp was a star, and the frost of Bethlehem made it twinkle. A water hen screeched in the bog. Mass-going feet crunched the wafer ice on the potholes. Somebody wistfully twisted the bellows wheel. My child poet picked out the letters on the grey stone in silver, the wonder of a Christmas townland, the winking glitter of a frosty dawn. Cassiopeia was over Cassidy's hanging hill. I looked, and 3 wind bushes rode across the horizon. The 3 wise kings. An old man passing said, "Can't he make it talk?" The melodeon. I hid in the doorway and tightened the belt of my box-pleated coat. I nicked 6 nicks on the doorpost with my penknife's big blade. There was a little one for cutting tobacco. And I was 6 Christmases of age. My father played the melodeon, my mother milked the cows, and I had a prayer like a white rose pinned on the Virgin Mary's blouse.
Everyone who was around at the time will have their own memories of 1985. For many thousands of those people, the memories will include Live Aid Day, 13th of July, 1985, one of the greatest rock festivals ever, in 2 parts, in London and Wembley Stadium, and in Philadelphia in the JF Kennedy Stadium there. That concert raised over $125 million for famine relief in Africa. Here in Cushendall, Alec Emerson, Fergal Lynn and Paddy McLaughlin got together to form the Glens Aid team to do their part in raising awareness and in raising funds in relation to that famine relief in Africa. Today, some 35 years later, I've managed to get Alec and Fergal and Paddy together to look back on those days of Glens Aid.
You picked a good year to retire. You picked a good year to retire from teaching. By Jesus. Lying about doing nothing.
Fergal, could you take us back to the summer of 1985 and what was going on around that time and how Glens Aid came to life?
The summer of 1985, Paul, was the year my age group all left school. So it was the big summer of transition. But what I remember most about it was the Live Aid concert in Wembley, 13th of July. Bearing in mind there was like 3 channels on the television, so when you heard that there was going to be an all-day concert, that was the big event. The previous year, Bob Geldof and Band Aid had released Do They Know It's Christmas in December of '84, and we had a wee all-day disco in the Parochial Hall along with the choir came along. We had different performers in the hall that day, but that summer was the Glens Aid concert. And it was also the previous year I started doing discos with BK. Cloud9 Disco was formed in '84, and then Paddy McLaughlin and I got together in the Thornlea. I was helping Paddy in the Thornlea doing discos. On one night, I think it was Live Aid night itself, we were sitting going, really we should be doing something. Because Geldof had said at the end of that record, the dying continues, so the giving can't stop. And Paddy and I just looked at each other and went, really, we've got a crowd here. We can get a crowd together. We've got the potential to be able to do things here. So let's do something. And that was how we started.
Paddy, Glens Aid was essentially a one-day wonder each year. The 13th of July was Glens Aid Day. How was it that you managed to build up such an extensive programme of activities for that day?
Well, we just pulled in every resource and everybody we could. Anybody that could network at all, we used it. We decided we wanted to involve all the community, so we wanted something in the morning for kids. We wanted to use the Parochial Hall. We wanted to do lots of different things, and you pulled on the different clubs in the areas that were fantastic. We also we got on to BBC Radio Ulster, and they came down and done outside broadcasts for us. We got the ducks had to come from County Fermanagh, which we had to arrange transport for that. And get them cleaned, and up in Alex's father's shed now, there was many a duck cleaned up in that shed, and a bit of and plenty of good fun in it. But no, we just pulled in all the resources we could, and I have to say the people come out in their droves. I mean, you see the photographs of along the river with the duck race, and it's fantastic. But back in those days, I mean, there was no tourism, and there was nothing happening here, and the 13th of July became the highlight nearly of the summer for a great bit of fun. And no, I have to say the memories were fantastic, you know, really, really good.
Alec, how did you get involved in Glens Aid, and what are your highlights of being your time involved with it?
I suppose, Paul, I got involved mainly because through Paddy and Fergal, I was a good bit older than the two boys. I suppose it's a case where youth inspires. The two boys were already running an event prior to that down, I think it was to be in the car park, but it actually, because of the weather, it ended up in the hall. And the boys, I think, raised in the region of 15 to 1700 pound or something at that time. So as the time moved on, the two boys decided they would develop the whole event, and they asked me to become involved, I think mainly through a point of logistics and organisation. And I was glad to be involved, because at that time we saw all the pictures from Ethiopia, we had experienced the whole Live Aid thing, and it was an opportunity to do something at a local level. Like, we've seen all the children with the extended stomachs, the children with the bulging eyes, staring eyes, and all the flies, and you wanted to be able to do something for mankind. And here the two boys were taking the lead, and they were giving us an opportunity in Cushendall to actually help the whole of mankind. So I was only too glad to get involved at that stage.
And the highlights?
The highlights for me probably was the community effort, the way everybody came together, the three main clubs in the area, the hurling club, the golf club and the boat club. Not only did they make their facilities available to us, but their volunteers also became involved as well. All of the communities, all the local businesses gave us prizes. And again, it brought a bit of colour and flair. At that time, we wouldn't have had the festival. We didn't have all those things going on. That was the one day in the summertime when we dressed up people. That's what I'm saying about the volunteers. Like, they were willing to dress up. The likes of Tommy Campbell and goodness rest him, and Brent McGahey stood in to have sponges thrown them at them, and all the other ladies who baked, people who volunteered to help out with stalls, people who supervised children and the children's treasure hunt. All of these things, the whole community came. So it wasn't just about the three of us, it was about the Cushendall community, the volunteerism and the desire to help the community as well. I would also say to help the whole of mankind. I would also say that there was a great deal of generosity, not only in terms of people giving money, but in terms of people giving their time and being wholeheartedly involved, even to the extent, as I said, of making fools of themselves. So it was great. And along the way, I think the total sum that Glens Aid raised was £17,000. Now, if you take into account at that time, I was outbid for a house here in the area at £12,000. It sort of gives you an idea of the amount of money that we were able to raise. And then it was particularly poignant when we were able to give that money to Dr. Dolores Alone. They were the real heroes, the people who volunteered to go out and work in Ethiopia, Anne Mackay, people like that, where we could actually see the money, we could tell people where the money was actually going. So yeah, it's something I can look back in my lifetime with great pride.
What's the question?
I read in a recent article in the Cushendall Focus that a number of charities benefited from the money raised with Glens Aid.
Well, the first year that we had the fundraising disco in the hall in December 1984, we gave the money directly to Geldof's own charity, Band Aid in London. We posted him a cheque and he very kindly wrote back, which was brilliant. After that, we started linking in with known third world charities such as Concern Worldwide and Trocra. And then we also found that we were able to link in with local people, local from the area, who are working in the front line as healthcare professionals in various famine zones in Africa. And yeah,
And we even had local celebrities became involved. For example, Jackie Fullerton came down on one stage when we were presenting the cheque to, I think it was Concern. And he was well impressed both by the type of work we were doing and the amount of money that we raised. And he also got his front page coverage on the local Ballymena Guardian. So you had people at every level helping and working with you.
And what would you say, looking back now, 35 years later, with the ability to reflect, what would you say is the legacy of those Glens Aid years?
Well, I mean, I know at that time, when Paddy and I were doing the discos in Thornlea, we had an audience, we had a crowd, and I know we talked about what we want to do was two things: one, raise money, but also two, raise awareness. And I would like to think that there's people of our era around here today that have and we've instilled some sort of awareness of giving to causes such as famine relief, and instill that in their families, that when they see these pictures in the news today of famine and deprivation in third world countries, that they will feel the need to contribute. And I think that's important.
I think also, like, as somebody who's heavily involved with the hurling club, I think at that time all the clubs were seen in splendid isolation. They all worked in splendid isolation. But at that time we all came together, the hurling club, the golf club, the boating club, and we saw that working together we were a very powerful unit. So I think there was a great coming together of the clubs at that time. And I think that has sustained down through the years now. The relationships between the clubs would be very good, and everybody would be working to help each other club rather than working against it. So I think that's something that came out of it. I also think at that time there was conversations about more could have been done in the area to promote, for example, tourists coming here, events being held for them. I think there was a discussion around that time held by some of the people, some of local business people and ourselves, the organisers of the Glens Aid Day. I think out of that was born, not saying directly, but born the idea of the Glens Festival. So I think in many ways there's been a great legacy, and of course, fundamental levels, our friendship has sustained throughout the years because of their involvement in Glens Aid. And who knows, maybe for many other people, the friendships were born out of it as well. So I think there has been a very, very, very good legacy out of Glens Live Aid Day.
And is there a sense then that the high level of volunteering and the whole ethos of volunteering that's around the heart of the Glens Festival to some extent is a carry-on from the Glens Aid phenomenon?
I think so, but I think, to be honest about it, there's always been a great degree of volunteerism in the local area. But I think that sort of brought us all together, and we saw what we could achieve as a group. And the people who formed the Heart of the Glens Festival, and who are responsible now for over 30 years organising, which was like, it's a week-long event. Ours was a day-long event, and we know how much organisation was involved in that. So I think, yes, Paul, in answer to your question, I think the Glens Aid sowed the idea, but I think consequently more and more people got involved in that and extended the idea, and now we have the festival. And I think it was, again, it was a result of Glens Aid.
Thank you. Took turns. These 1,000 ducks had to be cleaned, and they were cleaned with cellulose thinners, and we did it up in Alex Father's, the late Murray Emerson's farm, in his hay shed. And I went up to clean the ducks one evening, and we were cleaning the ducks one by one, and I noticed sitting in the hay that it was nice and warm, and there was actually steam coming from it, and I was relishing this heat in this shed. But I made the mistake of going down into the kitchen to meet Alec and tell him, give him a progress report. And I said to Murray, God rest him, the hay was lovely and warm. And he was talking to Eddie Hockey at that time about how his hay was so good. And I got a look that scares me now, even thinking back on it, about saying that about his hay. And I learned that the warm hay isn't good hay, and if it is warm, don't say anything to the person who owns it. The other thing is, one thing I'll never forget, we had a float that went round the village, and with buckets, and we had a permit to collect round Cushendall and Glenarth. And what I'll never forget was the late Moya Hines has a granddaughter, Kiva. I hope it's her granddaughter, but Kiva. And Kiva at that time was in the Belfast Circus School and walked in stilts. And she was walking on the bridge on stilts with collecting buckets, collecting money for us. And I know there's a whole lot of people collected money for us in that float. But Kiva on stilts on the bridge is something that I'll never forget.